The truth is out there, and it begins with you. Welcome to the Cosmic Fold, where we talk high strangeness. Call us at 928-288-2942. That's 928-288-2942. Or join us by video. If you're at a computer, just look for the link in the chat. Buckle up, sit around our virtual campfire, and let's get started.
Hey, gang.
Hey.
Hi.
Happy Saturday night.
Yes.
Does daylight savings time click in tomorrow?
Yes. Yes, it does.
So, Laura, it's going to be 4 o'clock for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank
I know.
you. You got me again. Yeah.
Well, the Wednesday nights are going to be really hard because it's at 5, and trying to get out of work by 5 is going to be a challenge. So,
Oh, wow.
but as I told the folks Wednesday, and we're waiting for Jose. I'm sure something's going on. He said he'd be here.
Maybe he was abducted.
He could have been with all those high strangeness going on out here. But anyway, if everyone could say their names, because I'm also going to be running audio streams of this to podcasting services, so not everybody can see. So I'm Deborah.
I'm Al.
I'm Bove.
That way everyone, if they're listening, they know who's who. And when Jose comes in, they'll know your voice by then, Al. So I was going to do a show about these weird noises that happen around the planet. But I tell you what, putting the video together, I'm already in 30 hours in. And I thought, well, let's just do something else right now.
Wow.
They are a lot of work.
Yeah, they are.
People think you just type something in AI. It's not quite like that.
No, there's a lot of production work that you have to do with that.
Exactly. It's fun. I'm entertained, but at least your camera looks good now, Al. We had last Wednesday. It was the strangest. We're trying to do the show.
Yeah.
And I listened to the replay. And you don't hear it. So apparently it wasn't going through YouTube, but we had like these alien glitch sounds coming through. We couldn't hear each other. And it was happening in 3 states. It wasn't just my problem. Yeah. And then when I listened to it on YouTube, it was pretty clear until towards the end. So anyway, I can hear everybody. Hopefully it works for y'all.
I am going to, and I promise, I'm going to catch one of those Wednesday shows. The last 4 of the 3 of them that you guys did, I was driving. And my stupid infotainment system will not play any videos while the vehicle's moving. It won't even load YouTube. So
this is why the podcast part is going to be good. When I subscribed to some, when I started this, I was going to have it go through Blog Talk Radio, which is fantastic because
we
got
use
this really nice studio in there. And then I was just going to take like a virtual cable and run it into this one so we could have both.
Yeah.
And Blog Talk just automatically posted to iTunes and so you could hear it live. It was very easy to do.
Yeah.
But they shut their doors January 31st.
Yeah, I heard about that. They've been around for a long time. We used to use them for God discussion, but 10 years ago?
Yeah, they were wonderful, and just a shame. They say, well, the technology now, but I tell you what, I don't see too many people having a call-in availability on their YouTube shows. So if anyone does want to call in, it's 928-288-2942. I've posted it in the chat. And so what I did is put together a slideshow, and Al's going to help me read this because he's got such a great voice. And but it starts with this thing called the Bennington Triangle. And what caught my eye about that was that there's going to be a documentary about that. I've heard of it before. Mm-hmm. And then I went into some of these other weird areas. So let me just add this in. Okay. So here it is. It's in Vermont. And there's quite a story with this. So I'll let you read, Al.
Well, that's some background. For 5 years, between 1945 and 1950, the wooded hills surrounding Glastonbury Mountain in Vermont became the stage for one of the most perplexing mysteries in American history. 5 people, all from different walks of life, vanished without a trace, despite exhaustive searches by local authorities, military personnel, and volunteers, no definitive clues ever surfaced, except for one case in which a body was recovered under bizarre circumstances.
Oh, wow.
And this has turned into like a big, like local thing. And I was reading some of the newspaper articles from back at the time, and they were calling it the Lost Horizon. I don't know what that means, but apparently it was some kind of term back then. And huge arguments going on in the editorials. Was this supernatural? Was it something else? So here's what happened.
Well, what happened, right? You want to know what happened? What happened to these individuals?
What happened?
Well, was this the work of a serial abductor? Could there be hidden dangers in the wilderness, natural or supernatural, that led to their disappearances? Or was something even stranger at play, an unknown force beyond our comprehension?
Well, we shall find out.
We shall find out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, we're going to talk about the experienced hunter who disappeared in November of 1945. The first to vanish was Mitty Rivers, a seasoned 74-year-old hunting guide. On November 12, 1945, Rivers led a group into Bickford Hollow, a remote area in the Bennington region. At one point, he walked ahead of the group, as he often did, but when the others reached the meeting point, Rivers was nowhere to be found. Search efforts stretched on for weeks, yet not a single piece of evidence surfaced. An experienced outdoorsman like Rivers wouldn't have simply gotten lost. So where did he go?
And for some backstory with that, in the newspaper articles, at one point they had up to 500 people looking for him.
Yeah.
Because apparently the son had seen him. He was like standing by his pickup truck or something. Just basically looked back, saw him. They moved forward, looked back, and he was gone. I mean, it happened very quickly.
Just
and
vanished.
this guy,
Poof.
yeah. And he was very, well respected in his community because of his, as a hunter guidance kind of guy.
And at that age, he'd probably been around that area to where everybody knew who he was.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone knew his reputation.
Exactly. And then there was another one. I didn't have time to hunt down the article too well, but there was another guy that happened around the same age. And it happened like 2 or 3 weeks earlier. And he had just disappeared. And then he showed up at his house like 2 or 3 days later, very disoriented, not knowing what happened to him self. But he at least showed up. And what was weird is all of this happens in like the last quarter of the year. In all of these, you'll see.
Well, we could talk about the college student who walked literally into oblivion back in December of 1946. A year after Rivers, Paula Weldon, an 18-year-old Bennington college student, set out for a casual hike on what is known as the Long Trail on December 1st. And that's, again, in 1946. She was last seen by a passing driver who gave her directions. That was the last confirmed sighting of her. No footprints, clothing, or other belongings were ever recovered. Weldon's disappearance triggered one of the largest search efforts in Vermont's history, leading to the eventual creation of the Vermont State Police. But despite national attention, no trace of Paula was ever found.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then,
This is wild.
oh, it's very disturbing, and in some of the articles, like one guy that read, I think he was like, had a gas station or something. He thought he saw her going down this area where there was a gravel pit, but then, I mean, they actually had like bulldozers and everything out there. They couldn't find her in this gravel pit. It was a very, very, these newspaper articles, they're so fuzzy, but apparently she was a very beautiful woman and very well loved.
Wow. Yeah, that's a shame. But even stranger is the man who vanished from a moving bus.
Wow.
Just a couple of years later, in December of 1949, James Tedford, a 78-year-old, again, an older person, a 78-year-old war veteran, boarded a Bennington-bound bus in St. Albans, Vermont. This is on December 1st in 1949. Fellow passengers reported seeing him in his seat during the trip, but when the bus arrived at its destination, Tedford was missing. His luggage and personal belongings were still on the bus, untouched, How could an elderly man simply disappear mid-ride without anyone noticing?
That one is very weird.
It is. You could almost, in your mind, make up, your mind will make things up, about the other ones. Obviously, people are going to say, well, maybe she fell off a cliff, or maybe she was eaten by bears. But a moving bus, that's like a couple of levels up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what I only took a Greyhound one time.
You're lucky.
And yeah, it wasn't very fun, but it did have a bathroom in the back. But as I remember, there were no doors that would lead out of the bathroom, and it wasn't like a big window. But I don't know what it was like in 1949. But I would think that the police, if there was a way to get out as the bus is driving, they would have known. Or if he opened a window somehow, you'd think all the other passengers, especially in December, it's cold. You don't feel the cold air coming in.
And there on those buses, I can't really say for sure about the ones from the 40s, but I can go back to the 60s. Those Greyhound buses, they're not quite the double decker, had that little thing on top. They're 2 access panels, one right behind the yellow line that you're not supposed to stand in front of, and one towards the back. And if you open those panels up, you have access to the underside of the bus. However, you can't just reach down like a trapdoor and pick them up. They have to be unscrewed. So you'd have to get down there with the screwdriver, take 6 screws out, and then you got this massive panel. So no, he didn't drop off the bottom of the bus. And like you said, Deb, if he had jumped out a window or something, then obviously, someone would have seen it.
And the other thing about him too, in the backstories, is that he was real frail. Very, very thin. He was like maybe 5 feet, 5'6", but he only weighed like 111 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
So he wasn't even all that healthy. So to be that frail and to try to open something and jump out, it was a very, very weird one.
Yeah, no, someone like that age and that physical stature is not going to pick up a 60-pound metal panel from the floor of a bus.
Yep.
Just not happening. But speaking of people who disappeared, a year later, tragedy struck again. An 8-year-old boy named Paul Jepson vanished on October 12th in the year 1950. He had been sitting in his family's truck while his mother briefly stepped away to attend to some livestock. When she returned, he was gone. A search dog picked up his scent, but it ended abruptly at a nearby highway, leading to speculation that he may have been abducted. But by who and why?
Yeah, that one I can see an abduction. Because like the big problem in Phoenix is you can't even leave a bucket outside because kids, in 2 seconds, you go to pick up the phone and the kids will drown in it. Their little ones will do that.
Yeah.
And so, I can see him getting out, but you're in a rural, remote area. It's like, it could have been an abduction, but still.
Well, in a case like that, if he got distracted by anything and walked towards the highway, he might have been picked up by a passing pedophile or something. But it is very strange, though, to have just this kid disappear. Ending abruptly at a highway, well, yeah, that I would probably come to that conclusion, if I were.
Yeah, I would.
But can you imagine being the mother, though, and his dad, too, but how you feel? Oh, my God, that's just awful.
Yeah, yeah.
And the 18-year-old, too. It's just when you never know what happened to them.
Yeah, yeah. There was one instance where a body was found, but still, there were no answers. So this is, again, in 1950, in October. This final case was the only one where a body was ever found. A woman named Frida Langer, a 53-year-old, was hiking with her cousin on October 28th, again in 1950. She slipped into a brook and, deciding to return to camp, dry clothes and all that, she went back by herself. She never made it. Her disappearance triggered a thorough search, but no sign of her was found until May 12th, 1951, so 7 months later, when her remains were discovered in an open field that had already been extensively searched, and authorities were unable to determine the cause of her death.
Damn.
Yeah, so I mean, I know, as a senior citizen, that I lose things. I lose keys. I have Apple tags on literally all of my vehicles, all of my keys, and then I find what I'm looking for. I'm like, but I looked here like 5 times already. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yes.
But this is a little different. This is a whole body, and I guess she was dumped there by whatever,
Yeah. But
maybe she floated out of the beam. The beam when they
this is true.
floated out and just went. Pew. I don't know.
But it
A lot of
really
strange
is
going on. And this isn't the only. I mean, we know this isn't this happens a lot. It happens more often than I think people would be comfortable with.
exactly, and we're going to have some more slides about how
Yeah.
much this happens all over the country and some other areas. But it really makes you wonder when you see. I don't know if they still do that, but remember they would have the missing kids on the cartons of milk.
Yeah, they still do that. They still do that in places I've seen it.
Yeah, you just have to wonder what happened. What's about? It's just horrible. You just feel for the families on this.
Yeah, you remember that TV show about Adam? The what the heck was it called? It's about the missing kids.
Adams?
Huh?
Nothing nice.
No. It was unsolved, like an unsolved mysteries type of thing, where this guy, his own son.
Oh yeah.
I think it was called Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah. But you got to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself. What explanations are out there? I mean, over the years, theories range from logical to the bizarre. Some suggest that a serial killer might have been responsible, although no evidence of foul play has ever been found. Others believe that sudden weather changes or dangerous terrain features such as sinkholes could be to blame. However, the complete lack of physical evidence does make these theories difficult to support. I can add a personal experience I had when I was 12 years old. I was out in the front of my house. We lived in the suburbs in New York, and I was doing my sonly duty. Right, I was cutting the grass. And I didn't mind doing it. I was outside, and I was young.
Oh, I love cutting grass. It's fun.
So I'm pushing a lawnmower across my front yard, and I did not know that over the months leading up to this point that the walls of our septic tank had collapsed. So there was just that thin layer of dirt over a very deep hole, and I pushed the lawnmower, and I just right down into that hole. It was 12 feet down. The hole was 12 feet down, and there was about 6 feet of human waste in it.
Oh,
And
God.
I fell into that, and I'm screaming my head up because no one's hearing me because I'm underground. The guy across the street looked out. I waved to him because I saw him when he was looking out his window. He's a nice old guy. He's the guy who actually got me into trucking. Had a Big Mac truck in his truck. I love that thing. A big flat nose, Anyway, so he noticed the lawnmower sitting there running, and he probably thought I went in for a drink and just being an absent-minded 12-year-old, just forgot to turn the thing off. So he came walking over, and that's, when he saw the hole. And within 10 minutes, the entire cavalry was there. And they pulled me out, and I smelled terrible. And the hole was filled in a new septic tank, blah, 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 blah. But hadn't he been watching me, or had look, because of this incident, I have done doctoral level research on sinkholes. They've just been fascinating me for the last 50 years. And when that happens, the way sinkholes are, it's very easy for a body to get sucked through that tiny little funnel on the bottom. And now, sinkholes can be over collapsed aquifers that can be millions of square feet, caves that are hundreds of feet tall, and you'll never get anybody out there. And I guess
I kind of think that explains a lot of this stuff. are sinkholes.
Yeah, and there are certain areas in the country that have it's called the karst topography, and it's mainly limestone, and it's very water soluble. And a lot of these aquifers that run underground, they erode that ceiling until you just you don't know it's there. It's just a flat plane. You're walking through the woods or whatever. And I've stepped in gopher holes, where I went down all the way to my knee, and it completely freaked me out. Oh my god! I was like, ah! But yeah, and that could explain it. But there are so many. There are so many people that just vanish. And I know, okay, some of them, they might have been attacked by wildlife. A bear can devour an average sized human in about 2 hours. They could have just decided, I'm done. I'm going off grid and I'm going to live, next to the Unabomber or whatever. But that's just a fraction, though, right? You get thousands of people a year across the globe that just vanished. They didn't all fall in sinkholes or get eaten by bears or, decide that they're going to be grizzly Adams. Shout out.
Exactly. Even around here, there was a huge fire called the Rodeo Chattiskai. It was the first of these big fires that are now like daily news. And a friend of mine, Carrie, and I decided to go hiking, like where the forest used to be after this great big huge fire. And one of the things, like there, it's like the fire would go down to the roots of these trees that would go like 20, 30 feet. And it's like if you stepped in one of those, you're gone too.
You're gone, yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. But it doesn't explain all of them. And
exactly.
I think that's the the whole point of bringing these instances to light and the ones that are coming up is that you can't really attribute everything
right.
To sinkholes or wild animals, or what have you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what is the explanation? I think you probably hit it.
It could look, if you have a closed mind, you're going to just make up all kinds of stuff. Your brain is just going to make up all kinds of things, everything from tornadoes, just all of a sudden it sucks you up. But the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of these cases that there's no evidence, there's no clues, there's no trail, there's no anything left behind, no footprints, and it's mind-boggling. Just
exactly
vanish.
Yeah, and that's what the slide says too. It's like if there's no physical evidence whatsoever, it makes the more common explanation. It's very hard to explain.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoops.
Well,
missed one. There we go.
So this begs the question: is there something more mysterious at work? Right. There are paranormal explanations in the Abenaki tribe, which is native to that region. They warn of a place they believe to be cursed. Legends tell of a man-eating stone, that would swallow people whole. Other reports speak of unearthly lights, shadowy figures, and the eerie presence of the Bennington monster, a Bigfoot-like creature that is said to roam in the wilderness. Now, some theorists even suggest the possibility of time slips or interdimensional portals, that these individuals quite literally stepped into another realm.
Wow.
And that could be.
Yeah.
And a lot of these native legends, they usually start from something that happened.
Yeah.
It's not like they just make it up or whatever. So
yeah.
So
it's weird that I've never heard these particular stories, and I lived in Vermont for years. I worked. I was a ski cop, ski patrol, for the resorts. Basically keeping the little kids, not the little kids, the young adults who want to show off the bunny trails, because they were just scaring the
yeah.
News. And I divided my time between Mount Snow, which was right outside of Brattleboro, and Bennington.
Wow! So you were that close. Wow.
And then this, it wasn't back in the 40s. Obviously, I wasn't even a gleam in my daddy's eye. But this was in the 80s, and I haven't heard. Now I'm going to want to, dig deep into there, because apparently the mystery continues.
Well, and this is what brought it to my attention. I had heard some about this. So there's, I think it might be coming out this month, a documentary called From the Beyond.
Yeah, high strangeness in the Bennington Triangle.
So anyway, that should be coming out, you know, and they're going to, I'm looking forward to seeing it. So that's why I brought that one up.
Paranormal investigators and urban explorers and researchers, they continue to study that area. And that documentary that's coming up this year, again, like you said, From Beyond, High Strangeness in the Bennington Triangle, does promise to take a deep dive into these phenomena, featuring interviews with historians, eyewitnesses, etc. So it should be very interesting. And I love documentaries.
Oh, me too. Okay, so I think we kind of. What do you think, Bo? If you didn't have it, Elle and I kind of weighed in. You got an opinion on it?
I know this is resonating on a different level than most other kind of strangenesses with me. I am likely to go with portals and that kind of stuff, but I have never heard of this triangle. And this is some fascinating stuff. I definitely want to go see this movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it comes up at the end of this slide presentation, but I honestly think there's some kind of like time things up here. Now, you knew Carrie, and Carrie and I used to go hiking a lot. And I mean, her husband would get so mad because we would disappear for like hours and hours and hours. And we had like no idea that we had disappeared like that. One time we got in this loop, you know, going around, and we kept seeing like the same lady, like it was very weird. And so I do think there's something to it.
It's funny because I think a lot of people who don't experience nature that way, the way a lot of hikers do, you know, I don't think that they can even fathom. You know, there was a couple of girls, I think they were older teenagers, 18, 19 years old, and they went out on a hike and vanished, just completely vanished. And this is in Panama, and I lived in the Republic of Panama for 4 years, and I wasn't too far away from that. There's a mountain range that goes between this little pueblo, that's the name Boquete, which is where I lived, and then over those mountains, which are almost impossible to traverse all the way, is the Mosquito Coast, Bocas del Toro, San Blas, the Caribbean. And it was always in the back of my mind because hiking is so popular, and I'd gone out, I don't know, dozens of times on these nature hikes, and we're miles into the Panamanian jungle. And I'm thinking, you know, if I got lost, nobody's going to find me. You know, you're literally in like an Amazonian type jungle where the canopy is so thick that you can't, I don't even think heat-seeking drones can penetrate that.
Oh, gee.
And, yeah, and they just disappeared. And obviously, you know, anything could have happened. But aside from a backpack, I think they found a backpack. There was no, and it's still, there's no evidence of what happened to them.
Was it there? Is that the one where I might be thinking of a different one where in the backpack they found a camera and the camera had taken a picture of the girl who owned the backpack? There's like one of those. It was real creepy, and it's like, who took that picture and put it in there?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that one or if it was a different one. It could have been a different one.
Yeah, this was in April of 2014. There were two Dutch students, and they were hiking the El Pianista Trail. If you want to know what the El Pianista Trail, you can go to my YouTube channel, Al Stefanelli, and in there I had done a video of that hike, and you can see you're walking along trails that are maybe 2 feet wide, and on one side you have a cliff mountain going up, and right on the other side is a 300 or 400 foot drop into the ravines below. And it's beautiful there, but it's a very, very difficult hike. There are parts of that where the trail seems to end, but you have to climb like 10 feet up a tree to get, or up rocks or whatever to get. And then, of course, I was in much better shape. But these girls disappeared in 2014. We arrived in that area as new residents in 2015. So this was still very much, where are the girls? Where are them? We lived there all the way to 2020, 2021 maybe, I don't know. And I don't know. I'd have to look into that if that's what's going on. I think they found. Okay, months later, search efforts. Anyway, there's a podcast called Lost in Panama that stretches the story to imply conspiracy and all that. You can imagine how that goes.
Yeah.
But the cause of their death and their disappearance remains unclear. And they might have found body parts at some point. I can't remember. But I know that the whole area was kind of on edge and didn't want to go on those hikes. And we went with like a dozen people. It wasn't just I would never do that by myself, but we went with about a dozen people, and some of them had ropes and stuff with them, but this happens all over the world though.
Yep.
Just people just disappearing, and I don't care if it's from your car or a bus or you're hiking or going down the road. It's just an unnerving feeling, thinking that you're just gone.
Especially that bus one. That one is very weird.
No, right? That's just so. I don't even know the word for it. Perplexing.
Yeah, maybe? That's a good word.
It's just a moving bus. Yeah.
So this is the famous one. Both brought it up on one of the Wednesday night ones. The Bermuda Triangle.
Oh yeah.
So everybody knows what it is. It's also called the Devil's Triangle.
Yeah.
Because of all the vanished ships, aircraft, people, compass malfunctions, electronic failures, all kinds of stuff. So here's some of the stories. I'll let you take over, Al.
Yeah, well, okay. There's been hundreds of strange things that happen in that area. There's been a lot of discussion about, what it is, magnetic, blah, blah, blah. But some of the more famous disappearances, U.S. Navy bombers on a training mission vanished without a trace. It was Flight 19 back in 1945. And the rescue plane sent to find them also disappeared. The last radio transmission was, everything looks strange. We don't know where we are. Wow. And then previous 24 years or 26 years earlier, the USS Cyclops, which I probably wouldn't have named it, but never mind. Cyclops was a near 550-foot long Navy cargo ship. It had 309 people on board, obviously all military. There were no distress calls, no wreckage was ever found. And then in 1948, 49, that area there, the Star Tiger and the Star Ariel, they're two British airliners. They vanished while flying over the triangle, and both planes radioed routine reports before suddenly falling silent. There were no debris, no bodies, just gone. And then the Witchcraft in 1967. That was a luxury yacht. They radioed for help near Miami, saying they needed assistance, but were not in immediate danger, So when the Coast Guard arrived minutes later, the boat was gone. Now, granted, okay, ocean issues, sinkings. With currents, sometimes a vessel can go down at these coordinates, and if it's deep enough, it could move along with the current, but not to where it disappears.
Exactly.
Usually they'll find some wreckage, even if it's miles away from the last known spot. There's usually something, and the waters around that area, they can be pretty deep, but for the most part, they're not like the Mariana Trench. There are theories and explanations, though. There's harsh natural conditions, of course. It's very prone to hurricanes, rogue waves. Rogue waves, by the way, which only recently were said to be real. That they, for a long time, nobody believed they existed. But rogue waves and unpredictable water spouts and what have you, that could cause sudden disappearances. Magnetic anomalies. Some claim that the triangle has weird magnetic fields that cause compasses and navigation equipment to fail, and that's been explained, and that's actually been the stated problems with some plane crashes, especially around the poles. Methane hydrate explosions, pockets of methane gas on the ocean floor erupt suddenly. That would sink a ship almost instantly. Underwater structures or portals. Now, this is probably a little one of the weirder ones, but some believe that there are ancient structures, like Atlantis, or even wormholes. And then, of course, UFOs and time slips, reports of strange lights, lost time, missing aircraft, reappearing decades later. These things fuel the more paranormal explanations of these things.
I don't know how magnetism affects people's perception. I know a lot of there's even regulations like in Phoenix, if there's a lot of like electric lines and stuff like that, that can really mess with you.
Well,
so I'm wondering if the magnetism, like, the one craft where they're like, we don't know where we are or whatever, if that has that effect.
And this is the reason, okay, I've it's been decades since I was up in the air, but I have a pilot's license. You can't just jump in a plane and fly for 50 hours and they give you a license to say you can fly anything. I was never certified for instruments only. I had to be, small planes, prop planes, where I had to have a windshield and I was able to see what was in front of me.
Right.
If you are flying anything bigger than a Cessna, there's a little aircraft.
Yeah.
Most of those bigger ones have you fly by instrument. They may have a window, but you fly by instrument. And magnetic anomalies can completely just throw all your altimeters, your everything just spins, and it goes into disarray, which is why you have to have a lot of training in order to be able to be certified for instrument-only flying. I could see that. So whereas if you're relying on electronics and you fly into a magnetic field, you can't tell when you're flying if you're high enough up. You can't tell if you're upside down, sideways, going down, going up. You rely on your instruments to keep the plane level and to keep it from pitching. And I could see that. But still, even with that, a black box or transponder would tell the authorities the exact place where that stopped transmitting. So there should be something on the bottom of the ocean, something in the mountains, something in the ice that would explain, okay, this is what happened.
Now, I don't know enough about the subject. Maybe you guys do. I don't know. When were black boxes even invented? Or when did they start using them?
Good question.
I'm thinking the 40s. Let me see. I'll look that up real quick. This is Google is wonderful.
Yes, it is.
So let's see.
Oh, no.
What?
So just heard from Jose, not able to join, got in a car accident.
Oh
no.
Lost his trailer, but everyone else is fine.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's... I seriously, that's one of the things that I worry about most when I'm pulling a trailer. If I lose that trailer, someone's going to... If anyone is anywhere near and gets hit by that thing, it's not going to go good. And if it doesn't detach from the vehicle, your vehicle can flip really easy. I really, really, really hope he's okay.
Yeah.
1953, by the way.
Okay, so a lot of these, I'm just texting him, wishing him well.
Yeah, from all of us, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So these were 45, 1918, 1948, but the one in 1967, but a yacht like that.
A yacht's not going to have a black box. It's just not going to have a black box. But no, the in-flight recorders were 1953. They were first invented by a guy named Warren, who was Australian. So I'm guessing it would probably took another decade to have them, put in all the planes. So there has been a lot of aeronautical disappearances over that area after 1953, after 1960.
Yep. Yep.
So even with the black box, even without the black box, but even with the black box, they still can't find these. They still can't find these aircraft or the
Exactly.
boat. You know.
Whoops. My mouse is touchy. I don't know why they're always in triangles. That's what's kind of weird to me.
I know. But wait, there's more.
It's another triangle.
Bridgewater Triangle. Bridgewater is in Massachusetts, if you don't know, and I was today years old when I learned that. It's a 200 square mile region in southeastern Massachusetts. Reports of ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, like Bigfoot, and some cult activity. And the Hockomock Swamp, that's a really good name for a swamp.
Isn't it cool? I love it.
It's central to the mystery, though. It's considered sacred, first off, by Native Americans. They believe it's some sort of a portal. There have been sightings of what they call thunderbirds, which are giant birds, glowing orbs, and spectral creatures. And there also have been murders and disappearances in that region. That's like Vermont, Massachusetts. I wonder what's going on in Maine. Don't ask Stephen King.
If you see a triangle, run.
Right?
What are all these triangles? Here we go.
The Alaska Triangle. Wow. What do you know? This is weird, though. This is probably one of the bigger ones and one of the more recent ones, because more than 20,000 people have vanished there since the 1970s. All right, this covers a huge area between Anchorage, Juneau, Barrow, basically the southern, eastern, western half of the state. There, the theories range from obviously harsh wildness, wilderness conditions, to paranormal forces. Legends of the Kushtaka, a shape-shifting otter-like cryptid said to lure travelers to their doom. And of course, the usual reports of mysterious lights, time distortions, UFOs, even planes have disappeared without a trace, including the 1972 case of Congressman Hale Boggs' aircraft.
And that's a picture of him there. And I'm going to look that up, because it's like, I wonder what happened with that. I'd heard vaguely something about it, but I don't. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but I guess he was the leader of the Democratic Party. I
don't know.
I don't know what, but I have heard about this stuff in Alaska. It's Hale Boggs.
Hale Boggs.
Not Hale Bop, Hale Boggs.
Yeah, he was, says here, American Democratic Party politician, a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from New Orleans, and he was the House Majority Leader and a member of the Warren Commission. He disappeared October 16, 1972, declared dead December 29th, 1972. And that picture on the screen there is the exact one from Wikipedia. Yeah. He came right before Tip O'Neill, if that gives you an idea of that.
Yep.
Yeah, of that genre back then. Now this
one's not a triangle.
This is not a triangle.
It's a valley.
It's the San Luis Valley. It's out in your neck of the woods. Deb.
Yeah, they've got so many water issues going on out there. I kind of
God.
follow that area a lot.
This is in Colorado, which, by the way, is an absolutely beautiful state, almost as beautiful as Montana. But it's known, and we've discussed this on the show at length, that area is known for UFO activity, things like cattle mutilations and other cryptid Bigfoot type sightings. The first recorded UFO landing in U.S. history was there in 1967. Well, here we go. Witnesses claim to see silent black triangles and strange humanoid figures. Cattle have been found mutilated with surgical precision, no blood, no tracks, no nothing. And there's mysterious shadow figures have been reported in the region. Again, this is, I don't know where in Colorado the San Luis Valley is. I'm sure, Deb, you probably have a better idea than.
Yeah, more the southern kind of high density area there. They're always going through stuff because of the drought. It's really bad. But
where's that in relation to Boulder?
I'd have to look on a map. I don't know.
I don't know. I know that my sister lived in Boulder for many, many years, and I had been out there quite a few times. And I absolutely, if it wasn't cold, I'd probably be living there.
I like Colorado. I like Arizona too.
Arizona's
I like
nice.
the high desert.
Yeah,
for me.
I like believe it or not, I actually prefer the climate in Arizona. I like hot weather. I just like cold weather hurts me. 'Cause I have a physical disability
Yeah.
called peripheral neuropathy, and cold's freaking painful.
It's
Yeah,
but the thing about the cattle mutilations, it's like
that's common.
so
Though,
I'm
isn't
in the VIP whatever for the Skinwalker Ranch stuff, and they've got a forum in there. I need to ask the people there if they want to get on the show.
Oh yeah, that'd be so cool.
But even the the members to see, I just don't want to break their rules, so I've got to ask about that first. But
pull those strings, Dad. Pull those strings.
But one of the they've had these cattle mutilations. We've had them on the ranches around here too. Some of our clients.
Yeah,
and there was
a couple of those.
Yeah, and this was like last month, I think. They posted in the Skinwalker Ranch thing where there was a horse. And the pictures were quite graphic, but he posted it so we could, I mean, it was just bizarre how like pieces of it were cored out, like the eyes and stuff like that. And it was, and then there were strips where there was no skin on it. And like they said, it was this, and it was very, like a surgeon had done this.
Yeah.
And, and they're always hiring vets and scientists and stuff to come out there and try to figure this out. I had started researching for one of our future shows on these cattle mutilations. And, in the early 1900s, 1800s, like cattle rustling, that was a huge crime. And maiming animals like that was a really big deal because, every head of livestock was worth a lot of money. But these, where they're doing it, it's like they're not taking it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get that.
No, I don't. And animal mutilation is not exactly a uncommon occurrence in a lot of these instances, these reports. And what's really unusual is I've read a couple of more than a couple, probably about a half a dozen or so booklets and other information on cattle mutilations. I tell you why, but nobody cares.
Why? I want to know. I care. Because I'm sure it's got to be a great answer.
I have a macabre. Anyway, but a lot of these just showed up. You know how people just disappear? There are people who have discovered mutilated livestock, horses, other animals in areas where they have trail cams, hundreds of trail cams. Nothing on camera. It's just you would think that if something was coming through, mutilating all of these, that they would be caught on a camera. But yet here we are. We have the mutilated animals. We have trail cams with absolutely no video evidence of anything coming through. So what did it come from above?
Well, and like on Skinwalker Ranch, there was one where they could see like something above. And they've got the equipment and resources to test this stuff. And like one of these cows, so it wasn't like mutilated, but it died very mysteriously. Mm-hmm. And the radiation level on that thing was off the charts. And this was after they saw like one of those lights like above it. And what was really strange, now they just left it out there. And the vets looked at it and everything. They couldn't determine the cause of death.
What happened? Yeah.
And none of the other, because you get predators that they're going to just eat, the carcass and what's left, but nothing would eat it at all.
Yeah.
And so you have to wonder, like, what creates that or what's going on? It's
absolutely, yeah. It is. Well,
here's another triangle for you.
Yeah, how do we go back to triangles, right? Another Devil's Triangle. This one up in Lake Michigan, between I guess what's on the map here. It's
It's
the
Sheboygan, and
lower
then you
half
see
of the
South
lake,
Bend. And
It's halfway across to Milwaukee. It's often called the Michigan Triangle due to its similarity to the Bermuda Triangle. Many ships, planes, and people have disappeared in this region of Lake Michigan. Pilots have report sudden compass failures and time distortions. And back in 1950, again, the Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 2501 vanished with 58 passengers never to be found.
Yeah,
These
one
are
of the
getting
things.
funkier and funkier, man.
I know, right? The more you look into this, the more questions just keep coming
Yeah.
up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of my theories on this is like under the Great Lakes and some of these little ancillary lakes. Like my dad drowned in this lake, and they couldn't. You know how you'll usually troll in a
Sure, yeah.
smaller lake. Well, they couldn't troll because they couldn't find the bottom because there's like all these like underwater
Valleys,
like
rifts, yeah.
thing that connect these little lakes, and they connect. And so a part of me wonders if in these Great Lakes, like there is like one of these almost like an underwater sinkhole or something that
Yeah.
connects these
Yeah.
boats underneath somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or well, in that case, an airline. But that's pretty. You would think that an airline would get, the plane would stick on something or a ledge
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. And it's, it's still, this is before the installation of flight recorders.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I had heard about this area. But yeah, those Great Lakes, they're very much like an ocean. Like when the Edmund Fitzgerald went down, that was kind of a big thing.
Yeah. Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story.
Well, I was in, what grade was I in? 6th or 7th grade or something. And we knew people who lost their dads on that. It was bad. It was sad.
I still cry when I listen to the song.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
This one's pretty famous. This one is.
Before I read that, the Great Lakes, just to give some clarity here, the Great Lakes are a part of a large drainage basin that drains into the Atlantic Ocean. So basically, Lake Superior empties into Lake Huron via the St. Mary's River. Water from Huron flows to Erie via the St. Clair and Detroit rivers. Water from Lake Erie flows to Lake Ontario via the Niagara River, and water from the rest of it feeds the Atlantic Ocean through the St. Lawrence River. So yeah, Deb, you're absolutely right there. They're all interconnected. It's
right, and I think that there's underground, like rivers or something.
I'm sure there is.
Under the water that connects some of this.
Now, if anyone out there is Romanian, please accept my apologies for completely destroying.
That's why I'm making you read these. I knew I couldn't pronounce it.
There's another triangle. It's the Hoia Baciu. I think that's right. Hoia Baciu Triangle in Romania. It's called the most haunted forest in the world. People report vanishing experiences, missing time, strange burns, rashes, frequent sightings of glowing objects, UFOs, ghostly apparitions. Scientists have measured some truly bizarre electromagnetical anomalies. Locals avoid the area, claiming it's a gateway to another dimensions. And your forests always kind of freak me out a little bit. I mean,
Well, and that one, and this came from the picture I just kind of used from an atlas about this.
Yeah.
And those trees are just kind of. I mean, they're not like normal trees. They're a normal tree in this
the only time I've ever seen
and there's something real creepy about that area.
Yes.
Yeah. There's I got a I guess I don't know if you'd call it supernatural or not, but I've got some thoughts about, maybe we'll explore that in another show, about trees and how they're connected, in the ways they're connected, not just by root systems, but by neurological connections. I've been doing some research.
Let's do that. That sounds good because
some research on. There's one tree, I think it's a banyan tree, in Southeast Asia that I think, like I said, I could be wrong about the area, but it's massive. It's like hundreds of acres, and everyone thought that it was a forest of banyan trees, and they realized that it was one tree, one organism.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Wow,
Anyway.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had definitely heard of this one before. It is very creepy.
The Superstition Mountains. That's where Stevie Wonder wrote that song. That's not true. This is in Arizona. Native Apache legends warned that the mountains are cursed. The Lost Dutchman's gold mine is said to exist there. Many who search for it end up never being seen again. They vanished too. Stories of shadowy figures and strange lights and portals. Reports of hikers disappearing and turning up miles away with no memory of how they got there. I could understand that. I'm often in my kitchen wondering what I'm doing. What am I doing in this room? How did I get here?
Well, and the thing is, too, it's like, one of the things, I'm very skeptical about these claims of superstition mountains. I'm sorry, I just am.
No, I'm too.
But I've done plenty of hiking in my lifetime, and a friend of mine, Lisa, and I went. It was not that far from here, and most of the trails have signs on them, so you don't get lost.
Mm-hmm.
And some kids had, well, maybe they weren't kids. Maybe it was. I shouldn't always blame kids for stuff, but somebody had switched the signs around. So we were following signs, thinking we knew, and pretty soon we ended up like way off. And fortunately, there was a Forest Service person out there, and we were like, we don't know where we are, and we had walked 25 miles off where we were supposed to be.
Hope you got it right.
And well, yeah, she did, and she said it was against the rules, but but then. This Forest Service person, I think, was curious, like, why, because we said we followed the signs. And she looked and she goes, oh, God, somebody keeps going out here and it's vandalizing. They're turning the signs around. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, we're experienced enough hikers that we always carry a lot of water.
Yeah.
And if you're down there in that area in the superstitions and you don't have water, I mean, I've been on some where you start running out of water. You could get delirious and just end up anywhere.
It does not take long. It does not take long. We were on a hike in Panama again, and I had my backpack. I had people with me. I had water, to hydrate and all that. And we came across a little stretch that was just mud, and it was like 2 feet deep mud. And the energy that it took to navigate that, I had to get rescued because I have diabetes. And the energy that I was expending tanked my blood sugar down to like the upper 30s and 40s. And they had to carry my ass out of there and put me on a farm truck and drive me to back to town. It doesn't take long at all when you are out in nature for you to get in trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what is going on out there. I'm so skeptical of these, especially that one.
There's nothing wrong with being skeptical. We have our perception of reality, and we combine that with our life experiences. You and I have both done a lot of hiking, and I don't know about both. I don't know, if you had, but I think all three of us are very much aware of how quickly things could turn disastrous out in the wilderness.
Yep.
Great.
I tell you what, the Great Smoky Mountains, that area, kind of just driving through it wigs me out. I don't know what it is.
That is my neck of the woods. I've been living in this area. I'm in Georgia now, but I spent many years in North Carolina, Tennessee. I'm very, very familiar with this area. Several mysterious disappearances have occurred there, including the famous Dennis Martin case from back in '69. He was a 6-year-old boy. He vanished within minutes of his family looking away. No trace ever found. But one witness reported a wild man carrying something through the woods, and other hikers have gone missing, only to be found days later with no memory of how they survived. The Great Smoky Mountains is that's Appalachia.
Yes.
I drive through there a couple times a week, and there are some roads that just a hair on the back of your head. Well, I don't have really there. That tingling on the back of my neck. Just I'm up there on Cherry Valley Road. It's a one-lane dirt road that goes over the mountains. It's got steep hills and cliffs and all that. And I'm thinking, all I got to do is one wheel on my rig's got to go over that, and I'm gone. Then you also got the what they call the deliverance syndrome.
Yes.
There's a lot of let's just say interesting people living up there. They're all off grid,
Yep.
And they know those woods so well that they could literally be standing 10 feet away from you. You will not see them.
Yep.
And that could have been what happened with this boy. But that whole area, I'm in the foothills of Appalachia, so yes, I do go there a lot. It's creepy. It's creepy as hell, man. It just
So I read that. Yeah, there was something just driving through it. Every time I go through that area, it's just I don't know.
Creepy.
It just kind of it's like honoring the Second Amendment when you drive through, because it's like I don't know what's out here. There's something I just
in this part of the country, everyone's armed. Everybody.
Yeah.
You just got to assume
They're
that
out here too.
if you're in Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, everyone's got a gun.
Yep. That was just the feeling I had going through there. There's just something, and then the humidity is so intense too. It's like it's hard to breathe. It's like I won't be moving to your area soon, Al.
And I tell you what, the older I get, the more my wife and I are like, we just need to move out west when it's time to retire.
Come on out. You would love it.
We're just going to get a 28, 30 foot travel trailer and hit the road. We'll live in that.
There's a part of me thinking about van life or just living like that too, at some point, because it's just like kind of cool, actually,
Well, it is, you get to see a lot of places, and even though some of them may, give you the creeps, you get to see the countryside. I'd like to spend a summer in Montana. There's some things that we want to do, and, maybe when it's time to hang up my keys, we'll just throw a trailer on the old Silverado and
Montana, Wyoming, that area is just so beautiful. Some of it's very desolate. It's like, gosh, you drive for 8 hours and never see another vehicle out there. It's just
my wife drove from Raleigh, North Carolina to Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, wow.
In the winter.
Oh, no.
She's brave.
In a Ford Focus.
Oh,
her sister and a very, very angry teenage niece.
Oh.
It took them 7 days to make that trip.
Wow.
And they went through Yellowstone. They went through the Yukon. They went through all of that. And there's a road here somewhere. Look, a moose. Which, by the way, are huge. I had no idea they were that big. Those are massive creatures. Anyway.
Oh, the elk are out here too. It's just like, they're not like Wisconsin elk or whatever. I mean, these are like, if you're driving and hit one and it's got a rack on, that'll impale you. It's like,
when we come out that way, you just give us a spot to park our trailer, and we'll come stay with you for a while.
Oh, that'd be fun. Very fun.
Okay.
So these are some of the best ones. So you get to follow the squares, Al.
Follow the squares. Missing 411, or is that 411 hotspots?
It's the 411. Yeah.
411, based on research by David Paulides, who documented thousands of strange disappearances. People often vanish under bizarre circumstances, sometimes reappearing miles away. Yosemite National Park is a hotspot, as well as Crater Lake and the Great Smokies. Many missing cases involve people who were right behind a group, suddenly gone. Strange patterns, search dogs refusing to track, bodies found in impossible places like high cliffs and dense brush. And some cases have children found alive miles away with no explanation of how they got there. It's just truly bizarre stuff.
And I really respect his work, because he was a cop. And so he comes, with that, kind of skeptical and looking for a crime or whatever. And I think he's LDS too. I'm pretty sure he is. And so they strive to be very honest and whatever. But there's something about him that it's like he I don't think he's doing it for clickbait or anything like that. He's put out these books for years, and now he's got a YouTube channel where he talks. He's. I really respect his work, and some of those stories are just insane that he has. Very strange ones.
Yeah.
All right, now this one's more fiction.
Oh, that's your backyard.
I'll take this one. Yes.
That's your backyard.
Yes, I'll pick this one up because there's, Louis L'Amour, he was like a very, very famous Western writer. Mm-hmm. And his stuff is just cowboy sort of stuff. And then he came out like a year before he died with this book called The Haunted Mesa. And what he had done was interviewed a lot of the natives that are indigenous to this area. And there's all kinds of stories about portals up in this area. Mm-hmm. And so that's what this Haunted Mesa book is about. It's like a Western, but about these people disappearing in these portal things. And, I've seen some pretty weird stuff up here. So when that book is like a classic, it's very interesting because it's so different from anything he wrote before. Hmm. And, and it's like this whole area. I used to come here before moving here just for archaeological digs. And, they were saying that there were probably more Native Americans that lived here back in the day than white people now. And then they all just kind of disappeared. We think probably drought and some other things, and they were absorbed into other tribes. But still, you never know. The legends are fascinating out here. So that's it. Time for thoughts or comments, and that's our show. Thank you, Al, so much for reading all that.
No problem. Croatoan, Hatteras, North Carolina, that whole community that just upped and disappeared.
Yeah.
Or Croatoan described into a tree with a knife.
Yes.
Whole village disappeared. There's a lot of that out there. Fortunately,
exactly.
We're here to bring it all to you.
The cosmic fold.
Yes, live and with personality.
So that's it for the show. Any closing thoughts, Bo?
Yes, I did not know there was an Alaskan chupacabra. Now I have to look into this creature. I found that very interesting. And there were so many things that were touched on tonight that I need to go back and I have to watch this because I need to write down what I need more information on.
Well, this is a seed show because I'm going to do some show just on some of those, just hone in those. And Al, I really want to know about this tree thing. That sounds like a good show as well.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. The life of trees, and it's I won't elaborate, but that would make it's weird. It would fit right in.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a lot of good spin-off material. It's a lot of stuff to talk about. So I appreciate both of you being here. I hope Jose's okay. I'm waiting to hear back if hopefully he wasn't.
Yeah, just text us if you hear anything. And let us know.
I haven't heard anything back. He's probably dealing with, insurance or whatever. Well, and is it snowy out there by Sholo?
Yeah.
And icy.
Bad weather, yeah.
So, but boy, we've needed it so badly.
Yeah, it's going to start icing over again here real soon.
Yeah. So could have been that. Al, such a good job reading.
Thank you.
You're such a good sport.
It feels like I've done it before,
That was really good. Well, thank you all so much. And this is on a new channel. Our past shows are going to move over to this one because the other one started, the focus is going to be rural business and lifestyles and, some weird stories from the world, but I don't want this to take over that. So I thought, it's easier to move this one so people can find it easier as well. So,
makes sense.
But appreciate you all. Have a wonderful evening. And I'll hit the end stream. We'll see you next Saturday.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. We love hearing your stories, so tell your friends so they can join the party. For show notes and our forum of high strangeness, visit cosmicfold.com. Remember, Cosmic Fold airs live on Wednesday and Saturday nights, so be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to know when we're on air. Thanks again and have a great evening.